Letters of appointment. Letters of appointment should detail the salary and other employment conditions. If a job description is being sent, there will be no need to repeat the details from the job description in the letter offering the post. Written warnings. Under employment or contact condition, it is usually the case that an employee is entitled to receive a written warning before they can be dismissed. The warning letter will, in most cases, have been preceded by a verbal warning or discussion with the employee about their conduct. When writing warning letters, it is usual to include details of the unsatisfactory conduct with dates and to state the further steps that will be taken if the conduct is repeated. Resignation letters. No matter how much you may have hated the job you are resigning from, or however badly you think you have been treated, you should resist the temptation to rant and rave or be abusive in a resignation letter. Try to write a letter which will not sour your relations permanently with your employer. You may find that your path cross again later, and in any event, anger will almost certainly be tempered by time. If possible, you should always exercise restraint, be courteous, and try to include something positive about your period of employment with them. Alright, I check now this one. Thing that I will have to read. Alright, I will write to read about finance. If you are unfortunate enough to experience difficulties in paying bills or loans, the golden rule is to contact the lender or creditor as soon as possible, preferably in writing. Remember also that any arrangement you come to should be realistic one with which you are confident you will be able to maintain. More wide-ranging advice on money matters is available through local advice center such as CAB, the Citizens Advice Bureau. All right. Now I would like to read about condolence. Even those people most practiced in the art of letter writing find letters of condolence amongst the most challenging to write. It can be very hard to find the right word, and many people shrink from the task for fear of intruding the bereaved person's unhappiness. Obviously, the person who is going to receive a letter of condolence is going to be in a distressed state, and it is hard to think anything to say that will bring any kind of comfort. In fact, because it is impossible to give real comfort, the bereaved often appreciate very much the fact that people have remembered their relative and thought highly enough of him or her to write. A simple and natural acknowledgement of the loss suffered will always be appreciated and be a positive comfort. Try to use straightforward everyday words and phrases. Be as sensitive as you can to the feeling of the person who will read the letter. Avoid expression like be a blessed release and good innings. Only refer to religious matter if you know the recipient is a believer. It is difficult to avoid cliche in letter of sympathy and condolence, but bereavement is not an area in which striving for originality is especially appropriate. In the circumstances, a few cliches can be quite acceptable. One more thing, it is as well to set aside your word processor. Unless your handwriting is completely illegible, it is much better to write rather than type letter of sympathy. This makes them personal in a way that a word processed document can never be. Often people opt to send a card with a short personal message written inside. It's probably better to go for a plain card with no pre-printed message. A message that is not in your own word can often seem a little impersonal. It's nearly always better to avoid those cards that include flowery or sentimental poems. Thank you letters. You should always write to thank someone, especially someone of the older generation, for a gift. Of course, it is often quite appropriate to telephone your thanks. You have to try and judge the preference of the person to whom you owe thanks and act accordingly. Just as letters of condolence require a marked degree of sensitivity, so to do letters of thanks, especially those in response to presents. The problem is often one of knowing what to say about an unwanted gift without being excessively enthusiastic, and so risk getting a similar gift again. It is often difficult to decide how to fill space in the thank you letter. You can keep the message brief, but you have to do better than a couple of lines. However much of little you choose to write, you might think of writing the letter by hand instead of dashing it off on your word processor. Most people prefer the more personal touch of a handwritten note. Alright,